So guys, welcome back to another video, and this is another Secret Base video reaction, SB Nation Secret Base. Because again, some people actually said in my comments they didn't even know they changed the name as well. So yeah, they done that recently. Actually, again, I'm still kind of surprised they did it, but again, I'm not going to complain because they still make the same content. And this one is Manute Muggsy Bo. I'd actually have to say his second name. It looks like Boojes, but I think it's Muggsy Bo. I'm pretty sure it is. And yeah, this is the NBA tallest and shortest were once teammates battling a sideshow label. Before I even started reacting to basketball, and before I even got into the sport, these two, I always saw pictures of these two together, and I always just found it really sort of funny. And it's one of the most sort of astonishing, like, you've got the smallest player in NBA history and one of the tallest players in NBA history, and it's just such a crazy dynamic. And the fact that they used to play together is, I mean, it's hilarious, but I mean, I would be interested in seeing, hopefully in this video, maybe it's going to show that link up, and they actually were quite a good duo. But let's check this out, man. I mean, yeah, again, and there's not too much to say about this. People know about these two, like how they were such a unique sort of, I guess you could say, partnership, teammates. Yeah, let's check this out, man.
Manute Bol and Muggsy Bogues have more in common.
Just look at that, man. But it's crazy to me, like, Muggsy Bo has literally got, his legs are bigger. Obviously, like, I know taller people, they tend to have smaller, so their muscles are harder, it's harder to sort of body proportion to like muscles, etc. But I mean, his legs are like the same size when I say same size, I mean like in terms of actual sort of width, not length, of course, because his legs are literally longer than his whole body. But like, it's just crazy to me how the body proportion can still cause that.
And then meets the eye. I mean, we should address what meets the eye. One is extremely tall and one is extremely short, but they were both long shots for the NBA. Neither guy got back a high school career aptitude test that said future pro basketball player. Muggsy because he was short. Manute because he didn't take one of those tests or even go to school. But they did make it to the NBA, and in fact, in 1988, the tallest player in the league and the shortest player in the league found themselves on the same team, fighting to prove they were more than just a gimmick.
Overlap, is this a new series that they got?
Whether you subscribe to this newspaper or not, we all know basketball players are tall. But even for the NBA, Manute Bol stood out when he stood up, or sat down, or even laid down. The guy was 7'7". He's the tallest NBA player, tied with George Mirasan, but even Mirasan didn't come close to Bol's 8'6" wingspan.
God damn.
Despite his size, Bol was not destined for the NBA. He grew up a Dinka tribesman in South Sudan. He lived with no electricity, no running
These are the people that are just extremely tall, aren't they? Like, their average height is like 6 foot from what I've heard.
water. Oh, and also no basketball. But thanks to a visiting politician snapping a press photo with a towering Bol, the Sudanese team became aware of him. Shortly after that, American scouts became aware of him. Nobody seemed to care that Bol had no experience. The guy could touch the rim without jumping. Manute came to America in 1983, but didn't head straight to the NBA. He spoke no English and weighed a shocking 180 pounds. It was hard to see him taking a hip check from Moses Malone or a hard foul from Bill Laimbeer or even a chest bump from a teammate. Instead, he went to the University of Bridgeport to play ball, learn English, and eat a whole bunch. He fit in with his teammates and had a fairly typical college experience. He was known as a funny guy who, despite growing up in Sudan, could hold his own in a campus snowball fight. After just a year of college ball, Bol decided to go pro. You see, Sudan was mired in civil war, and he needed money to get his sister out of there. Bol was called the biggest gamble of the 1985 draft. While his agent touted his tribal life accomplishments as proof of athleticism, others called out his lack of experience and skill. So, what team was willing to take a gamble on the tall, skinny, lion-hunting center from Sudan? The Washington Bullets. A team with lackluster attendance who, just that summer, had been called the NBA's colorless monument to mediocrity, drafted the tallest player ever with their second pick. Accused of merely trying to create spectacle and sell tickets, the Bullets brass defended their choice. Though some of their comments didn't quite ring true. But Bol proved to be a shot-blocking menace, setting the rookie record for most blocks. And while still skinny, Bol found ways to prove he could handle the rough stuff. Like being a central figure in what the NBA called the worst fight of the season, where he used his wingspan against Chicago's Juwan Oldham and was barely held back by 4 pro athletes and 2 refs. Sure, Bol's offense and rebounding had room for improvement, and sure, his numbers dipped his sophomore season, but the general consensus was, he's more than a spectacle. he's a real NBA player. But that consensus was short-lived. Due to no fault of his own, Bull was about to face renewed allegations of being a gimmick. In the 1987 draft, with their number 1 pick, the Bullets selected Tyrone Muggsy Bogues.
He was number 1 pick.
5'3". He's the small.
See, that's when you have to I'm guessing that's when I'm not guessing. That's when you realize how gifted he must have been, because at 5'3", you just sort of know so many people have overlooked him because of his height. And I mean, I guess it's a fair argument because basketballers are so tall, and you would have struggled to sort of realize how he would be able to compete. But number 1 pick, look at his legs.
Smallest player in the NBA ever. And in 87 was 4 inches shorter than the next shortest, Spud Webb, who had his share of doubters when he joined the league 2 years prior. What made Bogues an unlikely pro was solely his height. He had an impressive basketball resume and had been proving detractors wrong his whole life.
Yeah, I see that.
He played with the passion of defiance. He was MVP of his Dunbar High School team, which included 3 other future NBA players,
Jesus.
And is generally regarded as the best high school team ever. Dunbar coach Bob Wade was a great match for Muggsy. He knew how to harness his speed and athleticism. For example, Muggsy put on a full-court press on opposing point guards all the time. When he wasn't stealing the ball, he was putting on pressure and frazzling opponents. He was a pest, in a good way.
I see that.
He played 4 years at Wake Forest and led the ACC in assists and steals for 3 years. His defense was the stuff of legends that haunted the division. Before the 87 draft, Bogues used NBA tryout camps to prove his worth. At the biggest pre-draft camp, he recorded a standing vertical of 44.25 inches, but the only measurement most people cared about was his height. Critics declared he wasn't cut out for the NBA and diminished his college accomplishments, saying they wouldn't transfer to the professional game. They called him a defensive liability, and to be fair, in the pros he'd have to handle things like a post-up from 6'9" Magic Johnson. So while not called the biggest gamble of the draft like Bull, Bogues was seen as a gamble. Don't worry, the Bullets, still struggling with attendance, loved to gamble. Perhaps it was an addiction. They used their first pick to draft Muggsy 12th overall before eventual Rookie of the Year point guard Mark Jackson. And suddenly, Washington had both the shortest player ever and the tallest player ever.
I can't get over that picture still, man. It's wild to me. Absolutely wild.
It was hard not to call them a gimmick, mostly because people wanted to call them meaner things. But hey, at least they were going to sell some tickets. The Bullets defended the legitimacy of their pick, saying Bull and Bogues together would be great for a full-court press. And coach Kevin Lowry said he didn't think other teams were laughing at them. A Bullets PR rep said, "We're trying to keep all the freak show stuff to a minimum." Really? The guy works in PR and couldn't come up with better words?
Yeah.
And I'm not so sure he was telling the truth, because Washington held a press conference in which Muggsy was introduced by the shortest senator in D.C., and then Bogues dunked for the crowd on a lowered hoop. Luckily, Muggsy and Manute weren't bitter or resentful or too sad to get out of bed over all this. In fact, they were pals. Manute even said he liked having Bogues around to take the press attention off him. They wrestled in elevators, picked each other up. That's right, Muggsy could lift Manute. And even played one-on-one after practice. During one of those games, Muggsy somehow blocked Manute, who then proceeded to chase him around the gym. They were physically unusual, sure, but they were still regular guys. Unfortunately, they both struggled on the court. Despite the Bullets knowing their starting point guard excelled in a fast break, they played slow, half-court basketball, which rendered Muggsy's speed moot. He said he felt like a robot and his confidence suffered, as did his game. In mid-November, he had a 3-game stretch where he didn't score a point, then snapped the streak with a 2-point game. He lost his starting spot in December, and the press concluded the Bullets wasted their draft pick. Without playing time, he had no chance of improving, and by the end of the season, Bogues' minutes were in single digits. Manute didn't fare much better. He had his worst season across the board. He played so poorly, people seemed to forget he had once proven himself. Manute and Muggsy did occasionally perform well enough to rebuff the sideshow label, but only on defense. Their offensive output wasn't a factor. To make matters worse, the freak show, I'm quoting of course, didn't even sell tickets. Look at all those empty seats. One writer said the novelty had worn off by December. That's 1 month into the season. The Bullets finished with the 3rd worst attendance in the league. And that's why you don't put all your eggs in one basket and hold up the basket and yell, "Buy a ticket to look at my weird eggs."
Yeah, I see
It was clear Muggsy and Manute were on their way out of Washington. The Bullets left Muggsy exposed in the expansion draft, and he was picked up by the brand new Charlotte Hornets. It took some time, but Bogues found success in North Carolina. The '93 season was Bogues and the Hornets' breakout season. They played the fast break, run and gun game Bogues thrived in. His offense improved from his time in Washington, and he led the league in assist-to-turnover ratio.
Fair enough, man.
Oh, and he made crowd-pleasing, head-turning, physics-defying plays like blocking Patrick Ewing, an all-star who's a foot and a half taller than him.
What the fuck?
With Alonzo Mourning and Larry Johnson to receive his assists, the Hornets were an exciting team on the rise. Their popularity belied their recent expansion status. Charlotte made it to the second round of the playoffs in '93, and it was Muggsy who led the show.
That's such a funny picture.
Off-court, Bogues landed tons of endorsement deals. Whether he was acting as small business incarnate for an AT&T commercial.
So what if you're not the biggest business in the game?
You get the ball?
You still succeed because you call the shots.
Or declaring height is nothing, thirst is everything for Sprite.
Height is nothing, thirst is everything. Obey your thirst.
His accomplishments, in spite of his height, was a very marketable angle.
Yeah, money.
What the Bullets tried to do, make money off his unique characteristics, Muggsy actually did. The difference is, the Bullets tried to market Muggsy as merely a short guy in the NBA, whereas Muggsy marketed himself as a short guy who succeeded in the NBA. Bogues stayed with Charlotte for 9 seasons, and then came off the bench for the Warriors, and then the Raptors. And while the Hornets never performed much better than that '93 season, Muggsy's legacy was untarnished. He was an inspiration to diminutive athletes everywhere, and he's still the franchise's all-time leader in assists and steals.
Flippin' hell.
Manute Bol's post-DC career was quieter than Muggsy's. The Bullets traded him to the Warriors, where he led the league in blocks in '89 and became a fan favorite, complete with a fan club called the Bullpen. He bounced around the league, playing fewer and fewer minutes. He returned to the Warriors, but they waived him in February '95 after a knee injury. In 2010, at the age of 47, Manute Bol passed away from a kidney disease and a painful skin condition known as Stevens-Johnson syndrome. He left behind a basketball legacy of more than just the NBA's tallest man. He led the league in block shots twice, and is 16th in all-time career blocks. His son, Bol, now plays for the Denver Nuggets. But there's even more to his legacy. He used his celebrity to raise awareness of the Sudanese civil war and resulting human rights violations. He lobbied Congress and donated most of his NBA salary to relief efforts.
Wow.
When that wasn't enough, he participated in publicity stunts like Fox's Celebrity Boxing or an appearance as the world's tallest jockey, and then donated all his
because jockeys are typically very, very small, aren't they? When you look at the height difference there.
earnings to the Sudanese. In his playing days, the NBA called Manute a gimmick. Well, he embraced the role and used the money to feed hungry refugees.
Man.
Both Manute Bol and Muggsy Bogues were unusually sized. Though on opposite ends of the spectrum, they faced similar criticism and doubts about their ability to play in the NBA, which was highlighted by the fact that they were all on the same team. Two guys whose NBA origin was called a joke, a spectacle, a Barnum and Bailey act, ended up rising above their detractors and having an impact on not just the game, but the world. Muggsy expanded the physical limitations of what a basketball player could look like. Manute expanded the idea of where a basketball player could come from. Plus, he literally saved lives. And they both remain in the NBA record books for more than just their height.
What a video. I like this a lot, actually. I like how it sort of touched on everything to do them, and to be fair, they both seem to have like... I like how she sort of compared how they both had the same sort of criticisms, even though they were like there was 2.5. Well, there's actually 2 foot, like 5 inches, 6 inches difference in height, yet they had the same sort of criticisms. It's actually it's a really good way of putting it, isn't it? I had no idea Manute Bol did all that amazing humanitarian stuff with his earnings, what a tremendous human being. Yeah, I love that man. I mean, when you're donating the majority of your money, like in any circumstance, you're a top human being, and especially when you're someone who's earning so much. I guess I assume because he was a basketballer, he would have earned a pretty high salary compared to like the general then. I had a good time with the American people who told Sports Illustrated in 2001. I hope they remember me as a good guy who played hard. I wasn't Michael Jordan, but I was somebody called Manute Bol. Manute was too pure for this world. Surprised they didn't bring up the fact that Manute is the only NBA player in history with more blocks and points. Oh wow. First episode, that's actually kind of mad. The first episode was already a banger, but now I'm convinced this series is a massive dub. So this is like a new series that they're doing. Okay, I might have to look at the the past one, and then maybe more coming forward. The first episode, I saw that one. I've never seen Manute Bowl in a Heat jersey till now. Rwanda, Idea, Andy Dalton. Let's look at what. So the series is called Overlap. Where's the last overlap? Oh, so that was on Magic and Penny. So maybe I have to check. Maybe I have to check this one out as well then, because if this is a new series, I'm definitely down to look at this, man. I mean, SB Nation always come with the bangers. Secret Base, sorry. And yeah, like I'm definitely down to check more of these videos if you guys would like me to do so. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. And yeah, man, until next time, like, subscribe, peace.